Hi, this is Jen with Ramshackle Homestead and Survive with Keith and Jen, and right now I'm standing kind of in the outskirts of a grove of trees that we have. Well, actually they're shrubs, they're spicebush shrubs, but they're pretty tall for shrubs. These right here are probably about between 20 and 30 feet tall, about the maximum height that they're ever going to get. Usually you'll see them on average around 8 to 12 feet tall. But they are awesome this time of year because they are bearing their fruit. And I'll say fruit sometimes berries. It's kind of hard to nail it down, but they are technically fruit. They're drupes, just like peaches and cherries. So stick around. We're going to find out what to do with them and, you know, just more about them in general. Right now I'm standing kind of in the middle of the shrub. You know, when shrubs grow, it's usually more than one stalk. I mean, it's not necessarily a tree where you're just thinking of one upright structure, but there's several of these within a grouping. There's probably about 5 or 6 good trunks coming out of this grouping. But anyway, this is the biggest one, and it is by far, I feel like, one of the biggest ones in this little area in the grove. And this tree, I would say, would be every bit of 25 foot tall. As you can see, the bark, it's a little bit rough. I mean, smooth underneath, but then there's these little growths. They're called lenticles, and it kind of feels like maybe a rough sandpaper, I guess. Definitely not smooth. And then the leaves, of course, are just ovate, usually about anywhere from 3 to 5 inches, just simple, no tooth edge. And the really cool thing about these is that, and another very easy way to identify them besides just the growth habit of it in general, is you crush any part of it, whether it's the leaves, the branches, the berries or fruit, they're all going to smell very aromatic. And right now it's kind of peppery, but it's more citrusy for this part. A little bit, it's not quite as heavy as the fruit, but you definitely get an idea, just a hint of what the berries are like from the leaves. And then the twigs, of course, you just crush those up and smell those as well. And they're, you know, here again, more subtle, but definitely you can smell they're very aromatic. And of course the berries, which this tree right here, the berries are so far up there, there's no way that I'm getting those. But around the periphery of this grove, there's a lot of smaller trees that aren't quite as tall, of course, that I'm gonna get the fruit off of those. But you kind of get the general idea of what to look for. As far as like the habitat where these grow is going to be low-lying areas next to streams, moist woodlands. These shrubs are male and female, so only the female bear the fruit, but it seems like there's a lot of them in this area. So these are the little fruit. They're shiny berries, fruit, you know what I mean. Very easy to pick. They don't require much tugging at all. So on this particular, you know, they're bunched together. Of course, you don't have to, it's not a hard workout. I think it would be definitely a good one for small children. So when I picked berries, when I first found them a couple weeks ago, I did pick a whole bunch, and I put them on some screens and put them in the sun for them to dry, you know, make sure I had plenty of air circulation. And this is what they ended up looking like. So they're still, if you pierce them, they still have, you can tell they still have some oils in them, but they're dry enough. I feel like they'll work okay in the coffee mill or a food processor. But I'm gonna you can hear them popping. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's already doing stuff. You see in there? So it kind of looks like a nut meal almost. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty light and fluffy. Oh, it smells really good too. Oh, that's awesome. I'm gonna set it aside. Okay, now we're getting to the fun part. Get to smash some berries. So these are berries that I actually picked this morning. These have already started to get a little sunburnt because, you know, it is getting very hot out still, and they're not as fresh as they were a couple weeks ago or a week or two ago, but they're still very fresh and aromatic, and I think they'll do well. So, you know, to grind anything, a mortar and pestle will definitely work. I just like, this is a little bit more cave woman-y. So it is fun because it's real visceral. You get to smell it and feel it, you know, you get to feel the fruit bursting and the stones being crushed. But anyway, you just get after it, and the sound too, kind of popping, and it smells so good. So the berries that I just ground up in that paste, I'm going to make some decoction out of it and save it. I'm not going to really say, you know, a recipe, but they kind of recommend using, say, like a tablespoon of the fresh to every cup of water. You know, I think that varies so much on your personal taste and the substance that you're using. So I don't want to say for sure, you know, that's what you should do for medicinal purposes, but that's what I'm going to try at least, and then go from there. That's might be a good starting point. The stuff that I just ground up, you know, the dried berries that I ground in the coffee mill, I'm going to save for a spice rub later on down the road, and also as a allspice substitute. So I do intend on making a Indian pudding. It's like a cornbread, but a little thicker and sweeter. That's what I intend to do with the ground Spicebush fruit. Then with the whole berries, I am going to freeze a lot of them just whole, and then take them out as I need them for dishes, both savory and sweet. So I'm going to also freeze the dried berries that I did as well. And when I want to use them for more rub or allspice alternative, I can have those on hand as well. So a lot of different ways, and you know, like with everything that you harvest, you're going to have a lot, so you got to figure out how to preserve it. And you know, everybody has their own jam, and so do I. So I'm not going to try to boss you and tell you what to do. I just, you know, throw out some ideas for you. But I'm really excited about just foraging in general. We have a lot of these on our property, and you know, there's some things that I wish we had, but we didn't. But you know, this is the land that we have. A lot of bottomlands. We do have some hilly areas, and it's like, you know, you get what you can, take what you can get, I reckon. So there are a lot of different things that we can forage, but this one right now at this point in time seems like the most abundant. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. It might not be your go-to, and that's cool, but I think it adds a lot of dimension to, you know, your foraging and your cooking and preserving. I also want to try it in a spiced mead, which is called a metheglin. I think I got it right, metheglin. That is my foraging adventure in the Spicebush shrub world here on our farm. Ramshackle Homestead and Survive with Keith and Jen.